Hello and welcome to another edition of Global Book Network, the show we sit down with authors from all different walks of life and ask them about the works that give them the most pleasure. I'm Flobo Boyce, and I am excited, thrilled even, to sit down with today's author, Miss Helen Hogan, who wrote the book MoneyPenny The Magic Cat, because who doesn't like magic and who doesn't like cats? Welcome to the show. What's going on?
Well, the first part of the book, even though it's a fantasy book, is true. I was in terrible grief from the murder of my Maine Coon I had raised from a 2-week kitten to a gorgeous 3-year-old Maine Coon tabby.
Mhm.
And the neighbor's dogs had torn him in pieces.
Oh,
I
wow.
had to pick up the pieces in a towel and bury him. And I was terribly upset. So the other pets needed some food, so I went to Petco, avoiding the adoption section. But a shadow just went by my head, and I didn't see what caused the shadow. I heard a lady's voice say very plainly, "If you take me home with you, I'll make you feel better." That's a
Wow.
strange thing to say. And I'm looking around. Where could she be? And all I could find was an 8-week-old kitten, tabby kitten. And I took her home, and she made me feel better. And so much better. I've been a writer a good part of my life, so I decided to write about her.
Mhm.
And my senior creative writing class that I teach approved. So I added a few imaginary details that the angels gave her special powers to help people and pets in need.
Yeah.
And part of the message of this book is that people need pets and pets need people. So she uh, she was so sweet and so friendly. And one of the powers they gave her was telepathy. She could read people's thoughts and project her thoughts so that they would think them.
Mhm.
And they gave her a task to do. Uh, they asked her to save this woman from grief, and she succeeded. So then the angels gave her a pair of wings and had to install them at her shoulders, and she had to keep them hidden in her fat pouch. Um, so the flying cat. Now, uh, it's not as unique as I was afraid it was. I happened to be at a Renaissance fair where a lady in the booth with her weaving had a purse with a tabby cat with wings. Now, what are the odds of that? It turned out great. And Moneypenny has just inspired me. She has allowed me to adopt 2 other cats from the shelter. I told the lady it's up to Moneypenny. If she approves, that's fine. If she doesn't, I'm sorry, you'll have to take them back. So she brought the 2 cats in the front hall, opened their carriers, and cats, you know how they walk around and they explore and they look through things. And Moneypenny followed them very carefully. I guess she was afraid they'd find her toys, but she followed them. And then, as they drifted back towards their carriers, each one went up to her and put his nose to her nose. And she clearly seemed to say, "Okay, you can stay." So they stayed. And they've been happy. And I actually took all 3 of them to some cat shows. TICA, the International Cat Association, has a whole division for household pets because they want to encourage people to adopt, not just to buy expensive purebreds. And they're not judged like the other cats. The other cats are judged on a breed standard, and household pets are judged amazingly on potential to be a good pet. So they play with them with a toy. And they have a cat tower on ring on the table for them to climb if they want to. So before her first show, I taught Moneypenny to run up a cat tower. Well, we went to the show, and the first ring table did not have a tower. And she looked into the audience at me like, what do I do now? But eventually, she and one of the other cats from the shelter achieved Supreme Grand Master for going to enough shows and placing
Wow.
in enough rings. So it was a pretty neat story of the success for adoption.
Yeah. And I love how it all comes full circle. But let me take a step back about the inspiration, that moment over there at the pet shop. Like there is a bit of thing where you feel like the heart being refilled. But like you said, you were a writer for a long time. What was that moment when you said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to write this down"? Was it like a lightning in a bottle moment? Was it kind of like the a natural warmth and progression? Talk to me from taking the inspiration to the actual page.
Well, it was in the process of installing her in the house, setting her up with her own special bowl, of course, and a pretty little bed with a basket, and talking to her. And she answers sometimes. She has it's not a Siamese meow, but it's a little meow. There's a little in the background, and it's her special tone. She's very alert, and she has invented a growl. If she gets upset with one of the other cats, you would swear there's a Doberman or a Rottweiler standing behind you. She can make a noise, and they respect that. So far, she hasn't ever attacked anybody, but
Right.
it sure sounds like it.
Yeah.
And
That's
I kept thinking about things that pets do for people. And I had a friend who was in her 90s and uh, getting near her last time, and she was in tears over worrying about her kitty cat she'd had. She had brought him in the cold when he was a feral cat and made him her center of her life. When we took her to assisted living, the main thing was to find them that would let her have her kitty. And we did. And when I would go to her room and knock on the door and call his name, he'd come. He knew me. And she had always called him Baby Cat. The vet said, I can't put that on the records. He has to have a name. So the vet named him after his favorite car, a Bentley. And she was, what's going to happen to Baby Cat? And I said, I'll see that he has a good home. Well, the easiest way to do that is to bring him home.
right. Right.
And I put him in my art room behind the sliding doors, glass doors, and let him and Moneypenny kind of touch noses through the glass and get acquainted. And then I'd open the door for a few hours and okay, nobody's, the fur's not flying, everything's okay. And so he's in the household now. And so I am a childless cat lady by choice. They are my darlings.
If it's
All my
by
kids.
choice, then it's all right with me. We talked about names, and I assumed Moneypenny was from the James Bond universe, but I got to ask you formally, what was the inspiration for the Moneypenny name?
Well, the shelter had given her the name Penny. And I hated to use somebody else's name. And I love those James Bond movies with that pretty redheaded lady that had a crush on James Bond. And Moneypenny's not redheaded, but she's a pretty lady, as cats go. And so I thought it was a good name for her.
Yeah, it definitely it brings some attention to the character because you're like, wow, I wonder what that means, how stately she is, and in the fantasy genre, she does some extraordinary things, and so talk to me about the actual writing process. What did you want to do? What did you decide to pull back? What did you decide to exemplify and underline when it came to giving Moneypenny her heightened situations and abilities?
Well, one of the characters is the Dark Angel. and he explains things, and he encourages her. And when she's given wings, it's very strict. She's not supposed to let people see them because people would think they were crazy if they saw a flying cat. It would scare them. Well, accidentally she does. And uh, she apologizes, but um, they're very concerned because the Archangel Michael will be very upset if they have confused too many people. Well, it's all smoothed over. But with a creative writing class every Tuesday, I needed to keep up with my students. I needed to have something to read for them on Tuesdays. So I wrote stories about Moneypenny. For example, okay, what am I going to have her do now? Well, the angels tell her, you need to get back to work. You need to start helping somebody. She said, oh, I thought my job was to keep my lady, Miss Marcy, happy. Well, yeah, and you're doing a fine job, but you're supposed to help other people too. We gave you all these extra powers. So she thinks, well, where'll I find somebody with emotional needs? Oh, there's a school bus going by. All those kids might have, I can listen in on their conversations. So when the kids get on the school bus, she sneaks in between a couple of kids and hides under a seat. And you can imagine being in a school bus on a morning. And
It's a
so
lot of fun. No,
she gets back on in the afternoon, and the kids are getting ready to go home, so they're kind of excited. And there's one little boy in the back that's all sad. And she worries around listening to his thoughts. And she finds that he's sad because his daddy's not coming home. And he's so lonesome. He doesn't have anybody to talk to. He doesn't want to talk to his mommy because he doesn't want to upset her. And she decides to follow him home. So she sneaks out of the bus behind him when he gets off and trots along behind him. And she has a horrible thought. What if he's one of those sadistic kids who hurts kitties? Well, surely he's not. Maybe he's not. And she follows him along, and he sees her, and he has some lunch left in his backpack. So he's offering her tidbits, which she graciously accepts. Anyway, so Moneypenny realizes he would really like to have a kitty. Of course, she can't be his kitty, but maybe she can help find one for him. And since she has telepathy, she expresses to her lady, Miss Marcy, to come help this boy. And Miss Marcy's pretty smart, and she contacts the school and finds out something about him, and eventually contacts his mother if he could have a kitten. Of course, as the director of a shelter, Miss Marcy can find plenty of kittens, and so it helps the pet. Excuse me, the pet that needs a home, and it helps the lonely little boy. And of course, mom loves to pet the kitty too. And so it goes on through quite a few various adventures.
yeah.
And we have a Clear the Shelters Week big special. And we have a Seniors for Seniors program. Sometimes our shelters in the area, which are now no-kill shelters, will have a Seniors for Seniors time, because if a senior is going to adopt a cat, they really don't want a kitten. The kittens are more work, and they'll outlive the kitten. They won't outlive the kitten. The kitten will outlive them. So sometimes they take them and show them a senior kitty. And we saw the nicest looking, fluffy 12-year-old kitty. So it's a good deal. Instead of $100 adoption, it's $25 adoption, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting that no matter how old the kitty is, we still refer to them as kitties. That's pretty that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Well, is it a challenge or is it like fun to have the inspiration for this book living among you, like just hanging out, at
Well,
your house, being a roommate and all that?
cats are an important part of my life and have been since I was 10. At 10, I wanted a kitten, and my mother said, "You can't have a kitten, you've got a dog." Well, I loved my dog, but I still wanted a kitten. So one of mother's friends had some kittens to find homes for, and I took this lovely little long haired white kitty with odd eyes, one green and one blue, and took it to my grandmother for Mother's Day. Now, who can turn down a Mother's Day gift?
Right.
So grandma had a kitty. And
Smart.
she liked that kitty, and we named her Snow Princess. And she would sit behind Grandma at the table. Grandma always sat forward in her chair so she could go back to the kitchen if anybody needed something. And I developed that habit too.
Yeah.
It,
Fantastic. The fact that you're like, okay, I can't have a kitty, can I? Well, I have an idea.
my granddad would cuss that cat under his breath all the way to the door to let her out. And then she'd stand at the door and want back in, and he'd curse all the way to the door under his breath and open the door for the cat.
Right. So much fun, especially being part of the family.
She liked to sleep on top of the rotary dial phone. It was a party line. And so it rang more often than necessary.
Right.
She objected when you wanted to answer it, but she would get off.
Well, if someone picks up a copy of MoneyPenny the Magic Cat, what do you expect them to experience? So the adventures, and what do you expect them to draw from your characters and chapters and situations?
Well, I think I would feel warm. I would feel, oh, how sweet, she's helping. Or, yeah, people do respond to cats. And it is quite true, they can help lower your blood pressure. my stepson split his pelvis skiing, and he was pretty stiff and sore, so he was propped up on the couch at his girlfriend's house, and her cat came over and purred for him. And sure enough, he relaxed and went to sleep.
Wow.
They can be therapeutic. Nursing homes frequently have a resident cat that will go from room to room and visit the patients, hop up on the bed and visit. And sometimes the patients will sign up for him to come to them. My mother-in-law was in a nursing home, and I would take my kitty to visit her, and he'd hop on the bed and walk around her a little bit on the bed and lie down beside her. But as I was carrying the carrier to her, I'd be coming along carrying the carrier, and several times a little old lady, "Is that a kitty cat? Can I pet your kitty cat? I had to give up my kitty when I came here." And so, of course, Ringtail Tutor would let them pet it and enjoy their petting. So they are helpful. Mm-hmm. And of course, they can't survive out in the wild very well. Some of them who have been acclimated young probably can, with a lot of luck. But most of the time, if a house pet cat gets out, it's not good. Either dogs or wild animals or cars. Yeah. I won't have barn cats anymore because sooner or later they will walk up the hill and try to see what's on the other side of the street.
Oh, right.
This street now has a diesel mechanic shop at the end, and great, huge trucks zoom back and forth on this street. Mm-hmm. It isn't that they'd try to hurt an animal, but there's nothing they could do to not hurt it. They can't slam on brakes and fishtail an 18-wheeler. So it's pretty well fatal for one to get across the street and back. They usually don't make it. So I have a horror of any of my pets getting out.
Yeah.
But it's pets make us feel good. They help us go to sleep at night. Now, sometimes they can also go in the hall and yowl just
Oh,
because they're, who knows what woke them up.
right.
But usually, if I call them and say, come to bed in a minute, when it hops on the bed, okay, I'm here.
And that's sometimes all the comfort you need. MoneyPenny the Magic Cat's available now. Here's the fun part, though, Helen. If someone wants to check out the book or buy a copy or connect with you as an author, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they can find all my books on Amazon, and there's usually a way to email me at HelenMHogan.author, AUTHOR, because I write books, at gmail.com.
Of
So it's
course.
pretty easy for them to email me. And I'm not faithful about checking my emails every day, but I do check them every 2 or 3 days and eventually get messages.
Hey, it sounds like you have a very busy. I get it. Like sometimes you can't just be hovering over emails. You got to live life to find inspiration and stories to write. So it totally makes sense, right?
Well, my other life is horses. And my mare and I had our century ride last April. Her
Oh,
age and my age totaled 101. And we passed the dressage test with flying colors. When I
whoa! You
when
do
I
the shots?
entered her, I picked a level one notch higher than we were actually working. So I had 3 weeks to get ready, and we worked hard for 3 weeks. And the hardest part of the test was the very last movement. As I rode down the rail, I said a quick prayer of help, and she was a star. She did everything I asked, and we
I
did a
I
good
love
score.
I love it. Dressage is something I see, admittedly, only during the Olympics. But when I do, I'm always impressed. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you on Global Book Network. Thank you so much for your time on the show. MoneyPenny the Magic Cat's available now, as you said, and hopefully we'll have you back here for a future episode of Global Book Network.
Thank you, Flobo, Mr. Boyce. Thank you.
Thank you.